The Laken Riley Act, signed into law on January 29, 2025, represent a profound threat to the human rights and constitutional protections of immigrants and, by extension, American citizens associated with immigrant communities. This law mandates detention without conviction for certain immigrants accused of crimes, even minor offenses, thereby stripping individuals of their fundamental due process rights. Legal and human rights advocates, including organizations like the ACLU and the National Immigration Law Center, have voiced grave concerns about the act. They argue it undermines constitutional guarantees, effectively codifying indefinite detention without a conviction. This approach starkly violates international human rights standards and the fundamental American principle of presumed innocence until proven guilty. Currently, the Laken Riley Act faces multiple challenges in courts across the nation, where advocacy groups and legal experts contest its constitutionality. However, despite these challenges, the act remains law and continues to authorize aggressive enforcement actions by immigration authorities under directives that echo disturbing authoritarian overtones. Democratic lawmakers bear significant responsibility for this crisis. 46 Democrats in the House and 12 in the Senate supported this deeply problematic legislation. Their complicity not only emboldened former President Trump and his administration's harsh enforcement tactics, but also legitimized ongoing abuses against immigrant populations. Democrats must acknowledge and rectify their role in this legislative betrayal. Moreover, the sporadic response from the Democratic Party, limited primarily to rhetorical condemnations of Trump's immigration policies, falls critically short. Democrats must actively lead the repeal of the Laken Riley Act and champion legislation, such as the American Families United Act. This replacement legislation prioritizes humane treatment, family unity, and due process protections, reflecting true American values rather than fear-driven xenophobia. It is essential for Democratic lawmakers to stop incorporating concessions like wall building into immigration reform efforts. Such compromises validate extremist rhetoric and erode genuine advocacy for immigrant rights. The fight for immigrant and human rights requires moral clarity, not political convenience. Lawmakers like Senator Patty Murray and Representative Rick Larsen, who have historically remained silent on critical immigration issues affecting American families, must urgently reassess their stance. Genuine advocacy demands confronting injustice openly and courageously, especially when constitutional rights are jeopardized. The ongoing injustice of the Laken Riley Act highlights a broader systemic failure, the abdication of principled leadership in favor of political expediency. Without immediate and vigorous action to repeal and replace this law, violations of human rights and due process will persist, tarnishing America's foundational commitments to liberty and justice. Therefore, we urgently call upon all lawmakers, especially Democrats, to vigorously advocate for the repeal of the Laken Riley Act, support judicial challenges to its constitutionality, and pass the American Families United Act. The integrity of American democracy and fundamental human rights depends on immediate, decisive action.